Well, it's hard to believe, guys, but it's actually been 12 years as of yesterday that George Lucas probably made the biggest mistake of his professional career. To me, in my opinion, that is the day that Star Wars died. George Lucas, he was 68 years old and he got duped by Bob Iger. Did you actually know that that the meeting with Bob Iger, that was not really the first time Bob Iger actually tried to buy Lucasfilm from George Lucas?
No.
Yeah, Bob Iger actually, I believe, talked about it in his book. He wanted to buy Lucasfilm, but George didn't want to sell. And actually, to tell you the truth, George actually had no intention of selling at all. It was Bob Iger whispering in his ear, "George, sell it to me. Sell it to me. Come on, let me destroy Star Wars." I'm being dramatic right there, but you get the point. George got duped. He actually thought that Disney was actually going to take care of him. Now, he got his money. He got $4 billion, and I'm pretty sure he's made most of that was actually in Disney stock. So he's actually made a whole bunch more money. His money has grown. Mm-hmm. But Star Wars has been taken out of his hands, and what we've seen from Disney Star Wars is destruction.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the complete destruction of Luke Skywalker, who was one of the greatest heroes in movie history. What they did to him in The Last Jedi was unforgivable. Luke Skywalker, the quitter. And as someone that's been a diehard Star Wars fan, it really does. I wish I actually can go back in time, like Back to the Future, and tell George Lucas, don't sell. I mean, what are your thoughts on this, considering you didn't really grow up with Star Wars, but you did see the movies?
Yes, I feel that George Lucas shouldn't just don't sell it to Disney, but pretty much I think he trusts Kennedy.
Well, no, Kathleen Kennedy, here's the thing about Kathleen Kennedy coming into the picture. I believe that he put in Kathleen Kennedy because when the deal was already in place, George was still planning on having his movies made. And
yes.
And Kathleen Kennedy was one of his people. He thought that she would actually do what he wanted to do.
He wasn't expected.
He wasn't expecting to be pushed out. That's the thing. Remember, they invited him to the meeting about episode 7. And then he was just blindsided when he was like, what is this? None of this stuff is mine. And they brought him to the meeting and did not tell him that they weren't going to use the stuff. They blindsided him. But he got his money. And he's been critical of what Disney has done. He's not happy with what they've actually done.
Of course not. He created the character and wrote all the script and everything. It's his baby, as far as I know.
Yeah, he said they're his babies. He said the 6 movies that he made, that's his babies.
Yes, and I think if he doesn't sell Lucasfilm to Disney, I think he can still make more money since he already wrote the script for episode something.
He actually made most of his money, not necessarily on the movies. Of course, the movies made money, but the merchandising, that was really the key. Toys. Lucas made a ton of money on the toys.
I know, but on the movie, if he keep not writing the script, he will make more money than selling it to Disney. Don't you think?
Well, at that time, you got to remember, at that time, Disney back then was not the Disney today. Disney was actually putting out Very good stuff back then. Remember, the MCU was taking off. That was a year after the Avengers actually came out. So they were pretty much on top. Now they just lost their minds. Here we are. The Avengers came out in 2010. You can't even recognize the MCU now. You really can't.
No, but it's really based on the leadership.
Yeah. It's been poor leadership.
Yeah, and I think I wasn't expecting Disney to turn out like this too.
I don't think anybody did.
But
people thought that, all right, we knew that he had treatments for 7, 8, 9. Everybody knows that Lucas is a great storyteller. Lucas himself admits that he's not the best director. So people were thinking that, all right, he's going to have his stories right there, and someone else would actually direct it, and he would be there to guide them. But even George said that Disney was not happy to have him around. And when George wants to get involved, he wants to be involved 100%. Now, even though he did not direct Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi, but he was greatly involved in everything to do with those movies. Just like with Clone Wars. He brought in Dave Filoni. Dave Filoni was the creative director. But George, he is the one that told him. I know that people are going to say that that Dave Filoni created Ahsoka, but really, George Lucas said, Anakin has an apprentice. Get him an apprentice. And Dave Filoni was like, Anakin doesn't have an apprentice. George said, yes, he does. Get it done. So George always had the final say on everything. Mm-hmm. And you've seen what Star Wars is like now without George involved at all. It's a train wreck.
Yeah, it is. And it just really turned people off.
Yeah.
Star Wars.
Yeah. Remember last week, we were actually sitting down, we were watching, I believe it was TNT. Mm-hmm. Empire Strikes Back was on, and then Return of the Jedi came on. I was watching, I was like, man, this is the good old days right here.
Yeah. It seems like George Lucas, Star Wars, it just never grow old.
It never gets old.
It just, when we see it again and again, it just doesn't feel old. It still feel new.
It feels fresh and new, even though you know what's going to happen.
Yep. I mean, because of the technology and it in space?
They're timeless. And also, to be fair, they look very, very good. Mm-hmm. Now, granted, before he sold, remember, he came out with his special editions. And that's the official edition. So he always kept his movies looking fresh. So the only things that can actually be put out there is the special editions where he went back and changed some stuff. People were actually critical of that. I understand that, because it's a classic, but for the most part, 95% of those movies are still the original. He only added about 5% of new stuff. I thought it was a good idea actually changing Boba Fett's voice, but the biggest change that he made was actually bringing Ian McDermott in to play the Emperor in The Empire Strikes Back for that one scene. Mm-hmm. You want to know who that was, actually? Well, that was a woman actually playing the Emperor, but it was a male voice, and of course they put makeup on her and stuff like that. But the Emperor truly is Ian McDermott because he is just iconic in Return of the Jedi and the prequels. So hats off to George Lucas for definitely changing that. So, but I think that's it right there. 12 years ago, guys, man, Star Wars died. Sad, man. Sad. Gonna leave right there, guys. We'll be back tomorrow with another video. And until then, be safe.
Goodbye.